Hey, so peptide therapy is becoming increasingly brought to the attention of the masses at the moment, and many more of my clients are starting to ask questions about them. However, peptides have actually existed in science for over a century. They've actually been studied since the early 1900s, and insulin use for diabetics was one of the first peptide therapies, discovered way back in 1921. The main reasons that the awareness is now increasing so much and why they are becoming more popular is due to a growing trend and interest in biohacking and anti-aging, and with social media really driving this. Peptide science has also improved, and therefore with improved availability of different peptide compounds and improved stability and absorption by the body, and therefore better results from using them, popularity is growing. There's also clearly a shift away from conventional allopathic medicine towards more cutting-edge precision-based medicine, provided by clinics, etc., which, to be honest, is a really great thing. Now, as I've started to try and educate my clients with the use of peptide therapy over the last couple of years, it has unfortunately met with a little resistance from them occasionally. And I understand. Firstly, because they are fearful, which is understandable due to a lack of true understanding and because it isn't yet fully mainstream. But also mainly because 80 to 90% of all peptide therapy actually requires using a small insulin injection to provide it to your body. There are, however, a handful of topical solutions and capsules that are options too. This injection process makes many people instantly think that they are drugs and are probably dangerous. Now, I need to stress this really clearly. Peptides are extremely safe and also very effective. You are not putting an exogenous hormone into your body, but you are instead simply providing a very biocompatible molecule that helps trigger a very normal physiological process in your body. To put it really simply, peptides are just specific chains of amino acids. And amino acids are the building blocks of proteins and are the same amino acids found in all protein foods. In fact, your body is actually over 50% amino acids, and almost every physiological function in your body, from hormone regulation, immune function, tissue repair, and cellular signaling, is driven by peptides. It's a natural process in the human body. That is how natural this form of therapy is. And because the body already recognizes these molecules and signaling from the peptide bonds, the risk of adverse effects is very low, and much less compared to synthetic drugs and exogenous hormone use. Now, for biohackers in the know and cutting-edge clinics, peptides are now used extensively for injury and sickness recovery, hormone support, fat loss, longevity optimization, etc. So you might be asking, if peptides are simply amino acids and you can find these amino acids in protein foods, then can I just take some amino acid supplements or eat more protein to get the same effects? No. Although these are both great strategies and will potentially support the peptide usage, peptides are very, very specifically engineered chains of key amino acids, and each chain specifically drives and triggers a very direct action and physiological process in the body. If you take just a shed load of amino acid tablets, they will be broken down and used for so many functions in your body that they will not target the specific purpose that you're using peptide therapy for. Now, each peptide compound you purchase drives a very specific action in the body. And with the correct peptide compound formulated with a specific chain of amino acids, you can target very specifically skin repair, wound healing, tendon and muscle strain repair, hair growth, bone regeneration, growth hormone release, fat burning, increased insulin sensitivity, etc., etc., etc. The list is almost endless of the positive benefits to your body that can be found with peptide therapy, with actually minimal to zero risk. Obviously, you need to be very careful that you only ever purchase clinical grade peptides manufactured under strict guidelines from established and reputable sources, that you will also use intelligent dosing. But peptides should be a very strong consideration if you want to improve your health, your performance, your physical appearance, and your longevity. So you might be asking, if they're so amazing at doing all of these positive things for my body and my health, then why isn't my doctor prescribing them? And being really honest, the vast majority of doctors aren't even aware of them. They are trained very specifically in med school of how to diagnose symptoms and then trained in what allopathic drugs to then prescribe. You might also want to consider that Big Pharma and the medical profession, who are very entwined, have a lot to lose if more people start using these specifically formulated but naturally occurring peptides rather than the drugs that they patent and sell. So I hope this makes things a bit clearer and helps bring the positives of correct peptide usage to your attention. If you would like more specific information, then reach out to me personally.